Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It. Daf Yomi Share. We're learning Kesubos, Daf It Aleph, number 11 today. We have an amazing, fantastic share for you today. We're going to be talking about maybe the second most famous sugya in Shas after Pesach Pasuach. We have Ger Katan today about being Tovel, a child, 3-year-old, 4-year-old child. You want to be Tovel him to become a Jew without his knowledge. I mean, he's barely talking, he's barely walking, and you're going to be Tovel him l'shem gerus. Does it work? It does. It actually does work. The Gemara says, obviously there are certain limits to this, and there are certain cases I'm going to explain in Iyot Mansian where it works better than other times. Of course, I'm going to see the Katan has a right to refuse that when he comes older. To what extent does he have a right to refuse that? That we'll explore more in Iyot Mansian, the separate Ian share I give on the Daf. So, if you missed out on the most famous sugya in Shas, you can join us still for the second most famous sugya in Shas. Mere two dafim away from each other. Let's get started. The Mishna says, second line in Daf It Aleph and Aleph, Hagioris v'Ashuvia v'Ashivcha sheniftu v'sheniskayru v'nishtachru pchusos mino shalosh shanim yom echad. These are three cases that are often grouped together. Gioris, right, a woman who converted. Shvuya is a woman who was captured, right? And a shivcha is a woman who was a shivcha knainis, right? You converted her, but only partially, to be a shivcha knainis. And now these people are freed from their bondage. The gioris becomes a full-fledged Jew. She converts. The shvuya becomes ransom. They ransom her. And the shivcha, you're a meshacher, or you freed her to become a full-fledged Jew. Now, all these people, we assume, because they were either non-Jews or in a state of captivity by non-Jews, they were probably violated. But if you free them from their captivity or from their non-Jewishness before the age of 3, we know the halacha is that the psulim grow back. So even if they're violated, the psulim regenerate themselves. So therefore, their ksuva, like the Gemara says, the Mishna continues, Yomecha ksuvasar ma'asayim. If they were freed or they were nisgayer, right, younger than 3-year-old on one day, they get a ksuva. They marry a Jew after that. They ksuva of 200, and tainis pasulim. You have tainis pasulim to claim. Where's the pasulim? Because it should be there. The Gemara says, "Amar of Huna, ger katan matbilin os all das based in a ger katan, a ger. He's a katan. We're gonna see. Maybe he's old. Maybe he's 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. Beis Din can go and take him, be total in a mikvah, and make him a Jew, partially, we'll see. My kamashna was a chiddush. When it's obvious, of course you could do it. It's chosulo. Wouldn't you rather be Jewish? Be non-Jewish much worse than being Jewish. Rather be Jewish. Chosulo, v'zachalam shalom b'fanov. You could do a schus for a person. It's a sort of kinyan, right? You're making him from a non-Jew to a Jew, so you're kona him yadus in a certain sense. The concept of zachan adam shalom b'fanov, the Gemara in Gittin says you can make a schus for someone. If you want to, like Rabbi Metzia says, you can pick up a Metzia for somebody. Because schus, people want to have, or you mikabel matana, a present on someone else's behalf, because people want to have more money. I mean, no one wants to have less money. So, except there was one guy. It was funny that this fellow comes to me. He came to me last night. He comes to me now also. This guy from Shar Yashuv in America. He was out of a chabura there. I was part of his chabura. I was at a Purim Suda once, and he was leading the Purim Suda. He got up in the middle. He took a dollar bill. And he ripped the dollar bill in half. Like, money? We don't need money. Rather not have money, you know. I don't think that he was working nights at a high end law firm, making significant money as a criminal lawyer. I don't get that impression. He was in the base matters the whole day. So I don't think he was making any money. He was probably being supported by his parents or his in-laws. So, you know, people say they don't need money. You rub up the dollar bill. Everyone needs money to live on, and you want more money than less money. Trust me, if your parents or in-laws give you a raise, give you more money every month, you're gonna want that money. You'll have what to do with it. People think, money's evil. Judaism says money's evil. No, Right? But then they go to Mishulachim, they go to America, and they collect money for their kollels, for their yeshivas. We don't need the money, we need disgusting money, but if you want to get evicted from your building, or shut the electricity off, or have starving talmidim, I mean, these are problems you're going to have if you hate money. Money is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You try to earn your money. The Gemara Brachos says, right? Hanena Migiav Kappa is greater Mihira Shamayim. It's better to go get a job than to learn Zifrei Musar. That's what it says in the Gemara Brachos and Daf It. It's better to get a job. Why is it better to get a job? Hanena Migiav Kappa. It's better to earn money yourself and to go take staka and learn Zifrei Musar the whole day, or learn in Kolo the whole day. It's a Mefurish Gemara. I don't know how everyone ignores this Gemara. It's a Mefurish Gemara. Somehow it didn't make it into Shulchan Aruch somewhere. I don't know why. I don't know why they conveniently skip these Gemaras that talk about these things, but it should be brought to the public's attention. All right. So the Gemara says, "What's the chiddush? So schusulo. It's a schus. V'zachan adam shelo b'fanav. Tanina, we learned this elsewhere. Why do you have the Mishna to tell us this here? Why do Rav Huna have to tell us this? The Mishnah says in Gittin, Zachan adam shelo b'fanav. Ein chavel adam shelo b'fanav. You can't make a kinyan that's a chov, that's a detriment to somebody without his permission. Mao the same where it says no, it's needed. Rav Huna, people might have thought not like Rav Huna. A person would rather be a non-Jew, right? Because he can do whatever he wants. There's no mitzvos. He could be involved in promiscuity. Eved, the Gemara assumes in Gittin. We don't assume it's a schus to free an Eved. An Eved rather be non-Jewish or partially non-Jewish because he can have all the shivchas in the world. Kamashman, how do you mean gadol? That's only a gadol. He's an adult. The tam the Yisura. He's already involved in promiscuity. About katan, schusula. Katan, he doesn't know about these things. None of these urges. I just saw. I'm digressing a little today, but I just saw Family Feud, an episode of Family Feud. I don't know if you know what that is. The show. I think it's on ABC now. I don't really watch this. I don't have a TV, but I've watched some of the highlights on YouTube. Maybe the funniest guy in the world besides me, Steve Harvey. This guy is a black guy. He's hysterical. He really is. He's funny. He's hysterical. He really is funny. Maybe him and Andrew Schultz. I don't know if you know who this guy is. So maybe the two funniest guys and the two funniest comedians in the world. He's not exactly a comedian. He retired from being a comedian, but he does. He's a host. Has his own talk show, and he's a host at a radio show also. I think he's the host of Family Feud. For more than 10 years, he's been the host. And one of the questions, Family Feud has very interesting questions they ask. Maybe not appropriate for B'nai Torah and for certain people, but they asked, one of the questions was, they take a survey of 100 people and they ask a question, at what age does a child become interested in the other sex? So one person answered 12 years old. I think that was the number one answer. And that's someone else. This is on the fast money end of the show. We have to answer very quickly. She said 5 years old. 5 years old. So, and when Steve Harvey read the answer back, he said, "This lady is shocking the world." 5 years old. The Gemara says no, only gedolim, only adults, maybe 12 for a girl's an adult. They have interest in promiscuity, but little boys don't at 5 years old. So the Gemara says, "Leim Messiah leGortesh Vakatan Schusulo." So Gemara says, "Leim Messiah." I say a proof to Rav Huna. Hagyortesh Shivchanish Nifdu Shinish Gairu Shinish Tachru Puzos Mimel Shalashanav Yomechad. Our Mishnah, right? It says they converted less than 3 years old. They're definitely kind of my love that Bilu al Das based it. How did they become a convert? Obviously, Basin took them with Megayer them. So the Gemara rejects it. Lo hacha mayaskinan beger shenis gayer one of menosav imo. Right, it doesn't have to be that the ger was Megayer. They found the ger lying in the street, or according to Rashi, it's talking about the mother. There was no father. The mother brought him in. Right here, where they actually had a father. The father who converted, so therefore the katan has more reason why he's going to be happy, because he wants to be part of his family who were Jews also. But if there was no father, then we wouldn't necessarily say that. The Nichleb, my David Avun, he's happy with what his father did. I'm Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef adds on to Rav Huna, even though technically we paskin the ger katan on bilin das based, and once they grow up and they become of age, 13 years old for a boy and 12 years old for a girl, they could be mocha. We give the opportunity. Do you want to remain Jewish, so to speak, or do you not? If they protest, they're allowed to renege on their Judaism. We'll see to what extent they are allowed to renege. Abaye said, our Mishna. If we say they can refuse it when they get older, Yavina like Ksuva, we're going to give her Ksuva when she's 3 or 4 years old. Right? She's going to reject Judaism, and she's going to eat her Ksuva, she's going to money of her Ksuva when she's not Jewish. We don't want to help out non-Jews. L'chigadla. My answer, l'chigadla. We give her the money when she grows up, and she assumes she's vade a Jew. Whereas l'chigadla, now we machia v'nafka. When she comes older, she could also she could accept the ksuva and then reject Judaism. Where it says, once she becomes a gdola, we ask her. If she's not mocha, so then she has to remain a Jew. So we give her the ksuva. Meisiv Rabba asks a similar question. This is the third parak. These are the naros, 12-year-old girls that get a knas. We're talking about a nara morasa, a specific portion of the Torah. The third parak talks about it at length. Habal mamzeres val anesina val kusis val gioris val shuish val shivcha shiniftu shinisgairu ishtachru pusas minos shaloshanam yom echad. Yeshan knas. They have a knas. One of the rules of collecting a knas, which is 100 selah, right, for ones of a nara morasa, that is, they have to be a psula. So all these women, they have psulim, right? If they converted under 3 age, so their psulim regenerated, even though they're probably violated when they were younger. They have a knas. Yeah, Marty Gil Yicholni Machos. If you say that Geirim under the age of 12 or 13, they can just renege on their Judaism. Yavinu le knas azavach v'yusuf. We're gonna have a knas. Knas is a Jewish law to give her a knas for Namar so she's gonna eat it. She's going to benefit as a non-Jew, right? Whereas we give her the knas when she grows up. She'll just reject it. The Gemara asserts again, once she has the opportunity to protest, she doesn't protest, she can't renege on Judaism anymore. Abaye Lomar Karava Abaye. All right, they had different questions. Abaye asked from Mishna. Rava asked from Perak Elonaros. Abaye Lomar Karava. He didn't ask from Rava from Elonaros. How's from Knasa? There's a knas. Down Ross is a knas. Hainu time in this car. Even though technically she might benefit and eat while she's non-Jewish, but the chote he did an avera over here. He shouldn't be niskar. He shouldn't get rewarded. We have to give her the knas. Rava lo amar kabai. Rava didn't ask like from our Mishnah. Ksuva hainu time of those. See, it makes sense. Even if she technically might reject Judaism and become a goya, still we give it to her because there's a chance she might be Jewish, and we don't want men to just just on the whim, divorce their wives. They made it ksuva. That's one of the reasons they're masaking a ksuva. We're going to see what exactly through the masechta they're masaking a ksuba. So therefore, shalutei kalabein avlasiya. In order he has a monetary penalty if he divorced her, he has to give her a lot of money. It's going to hold him back from divorcing his wife so easily. That's the conclusion there. We'll see in the Gemara. The ksuba is also called a t'nai basin. Is there a difference between t'nai basin and shalutei kalabein avlasiya? I think there is, but you have to wait till later in the Masechta to hear more about that. The Mishna says, Agoza, Agadol Shabbat al-Aktana. Agadol is talking about a mature man. He's 13 years old. He ba al-Aktana. Right, so Rashi says, the Aktana here we're talking about, she is less than 3 years ool. Right, V'katan Shabbat al-Akdola, a katan here is less than 9 years old in one day. His bia of a katan, a boy less than 9 years old in one day, is not considered a bia. Umukas eitz ksuvas masayim. Mukas eitz is also a woman that unfortunately happened. A piece of wood got lodged in her vagina, and she lost her psulim. So they're still called a psula, and they get ksuva masayim. They're a meir. Seemingly, I'm only arguing on this last case of mukas eitz because the first two cases the bia is not a bia. And if she's a kana, the psulim regenerate, and if he's a katan shabal agdola, so he's not able to have an erection to break the psulim. So therefore, we assume she has psulim to get masayim. Mukais doesn't have, but the Chum, some Rameir will see, still says she gets a ksuva of masayim. Chum say no, she only gets a mana 100, like an almana. Psula, almana grusha v'chlutzam and nesuin. Let's say she gets married. She goes under the chuppah, but we don't. They weren't boel. There was no bia. They both say there was no bia over here. So she's an almana. Her husband died, or she got divorced. Chalusa min on nesuin. Ksuvas and mana. She still only gets a ksuva of mana, but Eilahan Tainas Pasul. We'll have to see why. We assume it's because once you go into the chuppah, we assume there's a bia, even though they're both saying there's no bia. Or maybe for a different reason, we'll have to get into that eventually. Eilan Tanis Basulim, there's no claim there's no Basulim, because we assume that the Basulim are pretty much gone. Hagiores, the top of Yud Aleph Beis, Hagiores Veshuya Veshivcha, Sheniftu, Sheniskaru, Nishtachru, Hiseros, Avno Shalasham Yomechad, Suvas and Mana of Eilan Tanis Basulim. Again, these people, either they converted or they were freed above the age of 3 years old. So therefore, we assume they were violated above the age of 3 years old, in which case the psulim do not regenerate. So therefore, we assume they don't have psulim. So therefore, they only get a mana like an almana, and they don't have a tanas psulim because they probably don't have a psulim. Gemara says, "Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Katan Abal Agdola Asa Mukaseitz." The katan that has bia with Agdola, he made her a mukaseitz. Right, which probably be subject to machlokes in Rameir and the Rabbanan. And Rameir says she's still getting a ksuva of Masai, and Rabbanan say you get a ksuva of mana. Can't we just go to the Shmuel? When I said in front of Shmuel, Amar in mukaseitz of basar. There's no mukaseitz of basar, right? Mukaseitz is when the psulim are probably broken, right? A piece of wood gets lodged in there, or she's sitting on a horse and riding, and therefore it causes the psulim to break. But basar, just as the penis going in, but it's not gonna break it. Either she's a katana, she's less than 3 years old in one day, or he's less than 9, he can't have an erection, it's not going to break the psulim, so we assume that she has a full psulim, she gets masayim. Look at the masila, lashmaisa bapinafsha, some cite this machlokes Rav and Shmuel in a different way. Katan ba'al agdola, directly. Katan ba'al agdola, Rav amar asa mukaseitz, he said it makes her mukaseitz. Shmuel amar in mukaseitz of basar, it doesn't make her mukaseitz. Meisa Rav Oshaya, gadol shabal aktana, katan shabal agdola, mukaseitz is also masayim, our Mishna. So you see, they only argue about the case of Mukazeis, but the first two cases, they don't argue. Everyone agrees to get Masayim, like Shmuel. I'm a Rav Haki Gamar. Rav answers for Rav. Gadol Ba'alaktana v'lo klum, right? The Gadol Ba'alaktana, meaning v'lo klum, means they're still psulam, and therefore she gets Masayim. The Pachos Mikan Genosin Etzba Ba'ayin Dami, right? Less than 3 years old, it's like you put your finger in the eye, it causes it to tear, but the tears regenerate themselves. The katan abal agdola, asa mukaseitz, katan abal agdola was less than 9 years old, he was not capable of an erection. Asa mukaseitz, he made her a mukaseitz gufa, plugsa the remeira abana. And it's just an explanation. Mukaseitz is really an explanation of the second case, to include that case also in the case of mukaseitz. Amar Rabbi Racham, machlokes shehikir bo. Rabbi Racham qualifies the machlokes. Machlokes is when he realized that she was a mukaseitz. The Rameir Madami la Bulgaris. Rameir says she's like a Bulgaris. She gets a Masai. Bulgaris, a girl older than 12 years old. Most women are older than 12 and a half. Sorry, 12 and a half when they get married. It's not common, even in the Hasidic world, to get married at 12 and a half. Hopefully in 5 years, Hasidim will take it to the next level and they'll get married at 12, 11, 10, 9. I'm joking. I mean, what's the difference, right? I mean, does she really consent or not? I mean, it's pretty easy for the parents to make it for her. So the Gemara says, I'm in the middle. יש לי עוד 10 דקות פה על השיר. סליחה. צריך להגיד לי, to tell me that you're coming. I don't know.
Now 10 minutes.
I have other shiurim I give. Okay, come back in 10 minutes. Maybe it's available. I don't know. You should tell me beforehand. I don't know why they do this to me. All right. So the Gemara says, Rameir says like a Bulgaris. Right, she still gets a ksuva of Masai. Rabbanan medamula ba'ula, and Rabbanan say she's like a ba'ula, meaning she had previous bia. She doesn't have a psulim. V'lo hikir ba. If he didn't know she's a mukaseitz, everyone agreed she gets no money because she tricked him. Right, he thought she was marrying a psula. She doesn't have psulim. Now it's not her fault that she doesn't have psulim, but she doesn't have psulim. Rameir medamula Bulgaris. The Rameir says, why is he compared to Bulgaris? Nidmi el bu'ula. Compared to bu'ula, should get a mana like a bu'ula, like an almana. Bu'ula isav b'maisa. Bu'ula had bia with somebody else. Something happened every day Adam. Halo isav b'maisa b'day Adam. Here it was the horse that broke her psulim, or a piece of wood got lodged there. So it wasn't a maisa b'day Adam. So therefore, it's just more comparable to Bulgaris. Rabbanan added the medamu la bu'ula and nidmi el Bulgaris. Why don't they compare it to Bulgaris like our mayor? Bulgaria tells Yisava Maisa. Bulgaria, nothing happened. They just grew up. She lost her psulim. Klal. Ha Yisava Maisa. She didn't lose it. Bulgaria doesn't necessarily lose her psulim. Ha Yisava Maisa. Here, a Maisa happened to her, right? Some wood got lodged over there, so therefore something happened. It wasn't Maisa the Adam, but therefore it's more comparable to a Beula. Ava lo hikr ba. So let's end the Rambam Cheskel statement. Lo hikr ba. L'divrei Yaakov lo klum. Now we're going to analyze that statement. Again, nothing. Meser Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, how could that be? He omeres mukaseis. This is a Mishnah coming up. He omeres mukaseis ani. She says, right, he's together with her. He finds there's no psulim. So what are they going to say? Until now, we're talking about no one saying anything. Or he was just saying, now they both have taina. So she says, you're right, I don't have psulim, but I'm mukaseis, right? A piece of wood got lodged there. That's why I don't have psulim. He accuses her of having relations after the Erisin, right? Baratzon seemingly, and therefore she's responsible. She's got nothing. She's believed. So she's believed. So even though obviously he didn't know that she was a Mukazetz, and now she's telling him Mukazetz, according to her, she's believed, and she would get presumably Masayim, right? Eller at least Mana. Elama Rava ben Hikba ben Lo Hikba the Rameyer Masayim Rabbanan Hikba. So Rava changes the statement whether by a Mukazetz, whether he knows or he doesn't know. And Rameyer you get Masayim Rabbanan Hikba Mana Lo Hikba Lo Klum. And according to Rabbanan, then there's the distinction around Berechezka. When he knows she's a Mukasetz, right, he only gets a mana. If she tricks her, then she gets nothing. Rava really went back from what he just said. The Sanya, how do we know Rava went back? The Sanya, Bryce says, Ketzad, Hotzas Shemra, what's considered Motzi Shemra? The Gemara, in the fourth parak, going to talk about Motzi Shemra, Parsha in the Torah, where you falsely testify that a woman was an Ara Hamurasa, that she was violated, or to say that she did it on purpose, right, and try to mechayiv her skila as a part of Motzi Shemra in the Torah. So Hotzah Shemra Bala based, and he comes to base. He says to the father, I was together with your daughter. I didn't find psulim. If there's Adam that she committed adultery right before, after the eris and before the nisuin, yesh taksuva mana. She gets a ksuva mamana. So the Gemara immediately asks, she's not getting any money. She's going to be killed. No, it means to say if there's Adam that she committed adultery, she gets skila, which is worse than a married lady only gets chenech. Zinsa mikara, if she there's Adam that she was committed zinus mikara before the eris and yesh ksuva mana, she gets a ksuva mana. Seemingly though, even though he thought she was a psula, and she ended up being a ba'ula, she still gets a ksuva mana. Amar Rav Chia bar Avin, Amar Rav Sheish, Zos Omeras concept of cheska psula. V'nim says ba'ula. We learn from this brisa about Moti Shemra. V'nim says ba'ula yesh ksuva mana. She gets, even though she tricked him, right? We don't assume it's a mekach toes. It voids the whole ksuva. It doesn't void the whole ksuva. She just gets the ksuva for a mana. Now he found the truth. She gets the ksuva mana. Meisiv Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman asked the question on this. I know that he shav l'matzah l'bsulam. He omeres misharastani ne'nasti. This is also a Mishnah later on in this parak, right? He didn't find psulam. So what's her claim? Her claim misharastani ne'nasti. You're right. I was nivelis after Erisin, but it was forced upon me. When I was in your rishos, it's you lose out. So I still get the ksuva of my time. No, you tricked me. Right? You had bia before the Eris, and you tricked me. You didn't tell me you're not a basula. It was mekach and I married you. Right? Seemingly, the statement when he was trying to achalo arastich, he wants to deny her the whole ksuva. Amlu Rav Chia bar Avin, Efshar Rav Amram, Chol Deodor, Yasvi Ki Amar Rav Sheshes Lashmaisa. Right? Rav Chia bar Avin says, Rav Amram, everyone heard Rav Sheshes' statement. Rav Sheshes made the statement, right? Zos Omeres, Rav Sheshes says, Zos Omeres, Kansa B'chezkas Psula, V'nim says Bula, Yesh Tak Suva Mana. Right? Everyone's heard what Rav Sheshes says, and he says, according, even though she tricked him, she gets a ksuva of a mana. V'kasha lahu v'shani. My mekach tos nami masai almana isla, v'amar leisla klal. Right? They obviously knew what Rav Sheshes says, and they had a problem from this Mishnah over here. How did they answer for Rav Sheshes? The very reason they don't protest against Rav Sheshes is because the Mishnah meant to say, just like Rav Sheshes said, that she gets a mana, and you're saying that she doesn't get anything. That can't be, right? Everyone, they would have protested what Rav Sheshes says. Right? Rosh Hashanah, wasn't talking about this Mishnah in the first part. He's talking about the Mishnah about Motzi Shemra, right? If they really disagreed with him from this Mishnah about Misharas Tani and Nasti, right? This Mishnah later on in the parak, they should have said something. I'm a Rava tried to reconcile what's going on. They did ask a good question from this Mishnah, Misharas Tani and Nasti. Mekach Lagamre Mashma, right? Mekach right? Sounds like, right? If you make a mekach toast, the whole deal is absolved. The whole deal is gone. Velakashaha. What are you gonna do with the Mishnah from Motzi Shemra? Taritz ve'ema say like this: Haki meish edim shezinsa tachta skill. If there's edim from the Motzi Shemra case that she was mizana under him on biratzon, she gets skill. Zinsa mikara v'lo klum. If she had this nus before the marriage, before the erisin, she doesn't get anything. Nimtzas mukazeitz yesh taksuva mana. Where the Bryce even to say she gets a mana, that's if she found to be a mukazeitz. If that's true, Rava just answering, how Rava who the Amar Rabbanan levhikr bava lo klum. Rava just said according to the Rabbanan, presumably this Mishnah in the fourth parak is like, right? He says by mukazeitz, if he doesn't know about she's mukazeitz and he finds mukazeitz, it's a mekach toz, you don't get anything. El Shmamina Hadar Be Rava Me'ahi. Rava was chozer bo, and he had bein Ramei bein Rabbanan. If he thinks she's not a mukazetz and she ends up being a mukazetz, it seemingly is a mekach toast, or she doesn't get anything. We'll have to discuss this more in the coming dapim. What does this mean over here, right? Well, we talked about two cases, right? Either he thinks she's a psula, and he finds that either she's a bula or finds that she's a mukazetz. And the Gemara says conclusively over here that if she finds she's a mukazetz, she gets nothing, a mekach toast. And we're going to see maybe on tomorrow's daf, Yud Beis, not tomorrow, I'm going to do it later today, it's really today's daf. And daf Yud Beis that that maybe it's a mekach toast. He thinks she's a psula and she ends up being a bula, she ends up being someone who was already with a man. Even though we say mekach toast, you get nothing. Does that void the whole marriage, or it just means that you don't have a ksuva mitnai based in, you only have a ksuva mitakanas based in shal deikal be'ena b'al. You have to make that distinction. Two types of takanas derabanan for the ksuva. We'll have to get into more in daf Yud Beis. Anyway, that's the halacha is that if he tricks her with mukaseit, so therefore she gets nothing. Both according to Rameir and according to Rabbanan. That seems to be psak halacha over here. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in Iyad Ben Sion coming up next.